All right, what's up? I'm CJ,
I'm Tim.
and this is what we're doing today. We got a little video thing we're gonna do. I got some questions over here on this fucking piece of paper, and this is the start of something new. So, where to begin? So, basically, is either I'm gonna ask him some questions or he's gonna ask me some questions. And we're just gonna get into a little bit of our life and where we come from and the stuff we've been through and how we got to where we are today. So, Tim, why don't you kick it off a little bit about yourself? So I'm gonna ask you some questions real quick. Let me get the questions out. Okay. So, all right. So, what's your name and where are you from?
My name's Tim. I'm from St. Louis County, Missouri. From Ferguson, actually, originally. Went to high school in Florissant. It's all North County, St. Louis. Yeah, that's what.
Okay. So like, what were some of your interests growing up?
Growing up, I was raised by a single mom. I was like, you know, I had a best friend. It was my mom's best friend's kid. He was kind of like my big brother. He was kind of like I don't really. It's hard to say like what my interests were because like I didn't really have like I didn't think for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was always somebody else thinking for me. So, but it was just getting into trouble. Like from a real young age, we started, stealing cigarettes and beer from our parents and
Hell yeah.
Just wilding out.
Okay, so like so you said you didn't really have any interest, so like all right, so maybe let's start like from like first grade. Do you remember, were you into sports at all?
No, I always played sports. I grew up, so I was when I was little, I went to a Catholic church, Catholic school. It's in St. Louis. That's like when you're in a Catholic school, you play all of the sports. So we played basketball, we played baseball, we played soccer. I was always on the team, but like I can even think back to then, and I was the kid in the outfield chasing butterflies and shit. You know what I mean? Like looking to see if there was 4-leaf clovers on the ground, like missing plays.
Yeah.
I just really was never that into it. I didn't really even get that interested in sports until way later on in life, like when I had kids and they were playing sports. Yeah.
Okay, right on. So what was your life like growing up? Let's say, okay, like I said, so like middle school, high school, and then yeah, from there.
So like by the time I was in middle school, I was used to like as a kid I moved around a lot. So when I said I lived in North County, St. Louis, like I lived in every town of the county. I lived, I went to probably 12 elementary schools.
Oh shit.
And then middle school, like getting into 6th grade is when moving around meant going to different types of schools. So like one place I'm in 6th grade, I'm in elementary school. I go somewhere else and I'm in like a junior high, I'm in an elementary school again. Like even 6th grade alone, I think I went to 6 different schools in like 3 different states.
Damn.
Yeah.
6 different
So
schools?
I was in school in Missouri. I was in school in Illinois. I went to a school in Georgia, and I went to a school in Utah.
Oh shit! Where'd you go to? Where'd you live in Georgia?
I don't even know. It was some town like Raleigh or some little. Little. We lived in It was like not even really family.
Was it country?
Like, super country.
Yeah.
Like we lived in a trailer on a piece of property that had another trailer and a barn. And
shit!
Yeah, it was just we were out there.
Did you have animals and shit or no?
No, none of that. We had a go-kart and like it was country, bro. Like the kids, I called them my cousins. Like that's how they were introduced to me. I didn't find out until later that we weren't even really related. But like that's that's where I really got introduced to like country shit.
Yeah.
Like just running around the woods and stuff. Like
hell yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of music did you listen to growing up?
A little bit of everything. I was kind of a chameleon. So like wherever I was, like whatever was popular, that's what I was into.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of like with the kid Nathan, who was like my big brother, we listened to a lot of rap, a lot of like 8 Ball and MJG,
Hell yeah,
Master P, the No
that's
Limit
the shit
stuff.
I grew up on,
Yeah.
bro. Hell yeah.
By the time I made it to Utah, like we had our own little band in the church, so we listened to a lot of like Christian inspired rock, like POD, MXPX, like
bro, POD, they were the shit.
yeah,
hell yeah,
that was like that was kind of like the sound we were going for when we were playing.
That's dope. I was just talking to somebody I did a show with, like out in Riverside, not Riverside, Corona, and he said that I reminded him of the lead singer from POD, which I don't understand how, I was up there cursing and all types of shit, but yeah, and it just brought me back when he started talking about POD of all their songs, man. Yeah, they were really fucking good, bro, like really, really good. So what was school like for you then?
School was, like I said, since I went to so many different schools, it was just an experience, man. Like I look back and it definitely shaped the way that I interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
It made it so like I can go anywhere and pretty quickly feel comfortable like in my environment with people. I was used to kind of making new friends or whatever. Kind of staying off the grid too. Like I learned pretty quickly that, if I wasn't making too much noise and wasn't grabbing too much attention, I was in a pretty safe place. But like I was always really smart. I remember every parent-teacher conference. I dreaded them because it was always the same thing. The teacher telling my mom like how smart I was. And even for the couple years I was with my dad, same thing.
How much potential you had.
Yeah, exactly. But I already knew, to me, I was more interested in people liking me. So like I didn't want to be the real smart kid. I didn't want to, I was going to act up in class because that was the kind of attention that I wanted. Like I wanted kids to think I was cool or to like me or at least talk to me,
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate with that too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think my teacher said I was smart. They said I had a lot of potential. Yeah. Okay, so like what were some of your hobbies in?
By then, in middle school, it was I was skated, I played the drums. I was involved in church with my dad for a few years, so like singing in the choir, doing like we had a little drama group that we would act out little skits and stuff. We traveled a lot, went to the movies a lot. Like we would travel for the church, like doing these little like youth retreats, and like we would travel to like do competitions for the acting and the music and stuff.
Nice.
So that stuff was a really cool time in my life that I didn't really know anything about church. Like I knew a lot about church because I was in church like 6 days a week, but I didn't really know anything about like what now I know is like ministry, like actually like ministering to people. Mm-hmm. To me, it was just a good time. Like I was doing what I wanted to do. Playing the drums was like my absolute favorite thing, and that was just what we did.
Nice. That's cool, man. So like, what were the people like that you hung with? Were they bad influences? Were they good influences, or were they people you looked up to, or?
Definitely a mix. In my younger years, it was always bad influence, you know what I mean? Like it was like my like main person I kicked it with was, we were gonna go steal shit, we were gonna go smoke, we were gonna go act up. Like that's just what we did. When I found myself in Utah, I was heavily involved in the church, so most of my friends were people from the church. Most of what we did was, they were good influences. Mm-hmm. It was like all we really wanted to do was skate and play music.
Fuck yeah.
But at school, I still had that, people pleaser. Like I wanted to be cool. So like at school, it was a little bit different story because the cool kids at school weren't my church friends. Yeah. They were skaters, mm-hmm. and they were, you know what I mean? Like they were a little more rough around the edges. So like I remember the first time I skipped school to go smoke weed was in Utah. Like when this was like my most comfortable, safe environment to not mess up. But like one of these kids was like, "Hey man, you want to go get high?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I do."
Kind of felt pressured a little bit.
A little bit, but it was just like I knew that's what like that's what at least this group of kids was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I go get high with them, then I'll be cool to them.
Yeah.
You know?
That
And it
makes
was just
sense.
like a snowball effect from there.
Yeah, so did you end up staying like friends with these kids or?
No, I don't. Honestly, it was wild. I was back in Utah recently for like a year before I got here to California. And I even went to that town, Provo, Utah, and like I just remember everything was different than I remember. But I don't know really anybody from like. There's a couple people like I'm friends with on Facebook or whatever, but like we haven't stayed in contact or anything like that.
Okay. Well, shit, man. So, I mean, school was pretty similar to me, man.
Yeah.
Like, it was very kind of similar. Like, my experience is a little bit different, bro. Like I grew up in South Florida and Miami, South Florida, Broward County, South Florida, and you know, my household was a little bit different. Like, it was crazy because I had moved a little bit too, and I was like maybe 5 years old, and I moved to Broward County, Florida, and over there, like nobody knew me or whatever, and I moved into the neighborhood, and everybody was older than me, and they were always trying to blame shit on me, you know, and like they would go do some shit and say it was me.
Yeah.
So I always had fucking parents knocking out my fucking door saying, "Oh, your kid did this to my place or whatever," and my sister had cancer or whatever when she was like 3 years old. And she came to school at like when she was like 5 or whatever, and she was bald, and I would get bullied because she had cancer, and so it like always fucked with me or whatever. And the kids in the neighborhood started using that against me and shit. And then there's just one day, bro, like I got beat up, I got jumped by this dude and his brother, this kid Alex and Mateo, and my dad was like, "Well, what are you gonna do about it? You gonna go back out there or fucking and fight or whatever?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." So I went in my garage and I grabbed a shovel. And then like on the way down there, I'm like, I'm not gonna hit these dudes with a shovel. And I just fought back or whatever. And that was just like a constant fucking thing in my life.
Yeah.
You know, like I was just so scared to get close to friends when I was young because I thought they were all gonna be the same, you know. But I definitely know what it's like, bro, to like kind of people please for other friends. Like smoking weed, I remember that too, dude. Like first time I smoked weed, it was out of a fucking $1 bill.
Yeah.
So I don't know why some Jewish kid named Omri, he got deported a little bit later on, but he like had like a $1 bill rolled up, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And he lit it, and we smoked it. It didn't do shit. I got ink all over my face and my, you know, it didn't do shit. And but I remember I just wanted to fucking fit in, bro. So like I really understand like what you mean by that.
It's funny, like the first time I smoked weed was out of some newspaper. Like this was before that, skipping school to smoke weed, and I was probably like 9 or 10 years old, and it was my little big brother, you know, like who was like stole some weed from his mom or whatever, and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Like just roll it up in something and burn it and light it. And that's like it's funny, like I remember that.
Alright, yeah, bro, like, fuck, man, people pleasing and the fucking places it takes us, bro. Okay, so, let me, we're gonna move on to, like, this next little version of, this little questions I got. We're moving on to the second part here, and, okay, so, when do you remember, like, you started getting into, like, real fucking trouble, like, with the law and shit?
Man, when I really started was probably like 15, 16 years old. I just moved back to St. Louis. I went from having a whole lot of structure, being involved in the church all the time, to coming back to living with a single mom who worked a lot, you know, like, and there was nothing for me to be involved in. So like going into high school, like 10th grade, I did my freshman year in Utah, came back to St. Louis for sophomore year, and I remember just kind of being lost. Like I didn't know what to do. Like I wasn't that good at sports, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like trying out for some of that. Plus at sophomore year, like sports teams are formed already, you know, like that was something I didn't even feel like I could break through. I'm at the bus stop one day, and this kid was just like, "Hey, do you smoke weed?" And I was like, "Yup," like because I knew that was my end. You know what I mean? So now I'm gonna see these kids every day at the bus stop.
Yeah.
Like, quickly it went from like us smoking a little weed and going to school to like us just taking the bus to school, walking straight through the building and going to somebody else's house to smoke weed all day.
Yeah.
And that's like really where it started, where I started to kind of develop that rebellious attitude of like, fuck school, fuck teachers, fuck the police, fuck, you know, like, I wouldn't say I was really that bad yet, but then I started driving, and then I started, you know what I mean? Like, running over mailboxes and shit, you know what I mean? Just acting up. Just a kid with no structure and the desire to be liked by probably the wrong crowd.
Yep.
That's, you know, that's like, I mean, like more serious crime didn't really take place until I was an adult, you know. And then it was like, you know, when I was selling drugs and shit, that led to, you know, stealing, robbing people, like really just doing whatever I could to come up, but I never really came up. It was just that, like, that cycle. You know, I look back and realize I never had any like vision or any kind of direction like I was headed. It was just kind of like taking life as it comes.
Yeah.
So it was like always, you know what I mean? Like I was always like in need of something.
Okay, so and I think that mentality has a big play on like younger people today too. You know what I mean? Like just boredom or not knowing where they want to go in life. It really is like structures the way that people think today, man. You know, because after COVID, crime rate went up.
Yep.
You know, people started doing a lot crazier shit, and I feel like kids nowadays are more desensitized to like violence and like all the types of stuff that they see on TV or see on the internet. You know, like even some of the shows today, like I'll watch and be like, damn, like they didn't have no shit like this when I was younger, you know. And like now that we have video cameras everywhere and shit, you see the craziest shit on YouTube, bro.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
and you even see like all the crime that's going on every single day. You hear it about in the news, you know, and it makes you really wonder, like, where does this shit come from? Like, where is that seed planted when we're younger, and like what age does it start, you know, and what could be done about it?
Well, I think like a big part of it, cause like to me, like music's always been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I think back, like I was born in the 80s, you know, so like if you think, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like in the 80s there wasn't a lot of music that was about violence.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like going into the 90s, you know, gangster rap comes out and like, you know, like not to blame music for anything, but like I know when I was in high school, when I was getting high, when I was like I was listening to a lot of music that fueled that.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I listened to a lot of 3 6 Mafia and Tech Nine and
yeah.
you know, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. Like it was stuff that made me want to fight, made me want to get high, made me want to, you know, fuck chicks like in the worst way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you know, like and I like I know I was kind of brought up on that. And now you listen to music and those artists were also brought up on that. So now there's more artists like that to where that's pop. You know what I mean? Like
it's normal.
Yeah, like top 40 songs are talking about Xanax bars and fucking, you know what I mean? Like
shit,
yeah, like so I definitely think that has an influence on it.
Yeah, it definitely has an influence, and then I see what you're saying because it brings like that kind of stuff to fucking people who might have never been like I don't know, like have never seen that kind of stuff or heard that, you know, like in bumfuck Egypt, where some kid has never even seen a gun or whatever. He's listening to 666 Mafia talking about masking a Glock and shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I see what you're saying, man.
One thing I saw, like, in my lifetime, I remember as a kid, when I went to, like, more rural, like, when I went to the country, like, the radio station like you didn't have like the radio stations were playing country music or like classic
Gospel
rock.
Or,
yeah. And like the internet kind of changed all of that.
I love the internet, bro.
You know, like the internet took the music we were listening to in the city out to the country. You know, like to where now everybody has access to the same kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, shit. Just the MySpace days, bro.
Oh, yeah. But I found out, too, once I got a little bit older, that they were partying in the country. You know what I mean?
Hell
like,
yeah.
There wasn't much else to do but to get loaded.
Yeah.
Like,
that's where 666 from, 8 Ball, MJG, fucking Mississippi, Memphis, all down there, bro. Yeah, it makes sense. Fucking... Damn, yeah, man. It's crazy, you know. But it makes you think. Like you always heard this too. I always heard this when I was younger. It's the music they listen to. But then again, I'm like, no, the fuck it ain't. It's because I just don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? You know, it's because it's like, and it's more like a rebellious mindset. But I can see what you're saying though. Like putting on the music before you go do some shit, just get you pumped up.
Well, I know now it still affects me. Like I love music, and depending on what kind of music, if I spend too much time listening to any one kind of music, I'll notice my thinking changing. Like I'll, if I'm if I'm talking to a girl and it's like respectful and like almost romantic, you know what I mean? Like I can listen to like Too Short or something for a little bit, and all of a sudden I'm like, nah, dummy, don't, you know what I mean? Don't fall for that shit. Like, she don't really like you, bro. Like, you know, like, and it's like, it's wild. It's wild how music has the power to do that. And like you said, I don't believe that anything should be blamed on music, you know, but I do try to take care of what I'm listening to and what I'm taking in, what I watch on TV. You know, I was just watching Power, and I'm like, man, if I watch this every day,
you start selling
then
drugs.
I'm like, oh, exactly. Like I really want to do that. I'm like, wait, man, I could have done this. You know, like if I would have had my head on right, like there's always something in my mind, which I think is my disease, telling me that like it just didn't work out because you fucked up this one little thing. Like it can still work out. Like you can still do it. And I just try to silence that shit as quick as possible.
and like when we talk about the disease, we're talking about the disease of addiction. And maybe you want to like elaborate on what that means to you?
Yeah, for sure. So I am definitely an addict. And I'm 36 years old now. I recently just discovered that I was an addict. It took a while, and it's wild because like a lot of other people knew I was an addict before. But I think I was brought up kind of to believe that it was just a decision, like whether you were going to use or drink or not was just like either do it or don't.
Yeah.
The idea like that I didn't have control over it was never really introduced to me. Mm-hmm. And when I did first start hearing it, I was like immediately wrote it off. Like that's not me. Like I can control it. I can stop if I want to. But that's, like I've come to learn that wasn't the case for me. Like as far down the hole as it took me, that's the proof that I have now that like it was beyond my control. Like it wasn't something my life wasn't something I could manage. So yeah, now that I know that I do have the disease of addiction, I'm able to treat it. And ever since I started to treat it, my life's gotten significantly better, like quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you say that you had proof that it was a disease, what was the proof to you?
Well, so I say the proof is like, I went from, what they call like a functioning addict, where I was using daily, but like still had a job. Still
using what?
Well, when I thought I was functioning, it was like I was drinking and smoking weed every day, doing coke multiple times a week. That's probably about it. Mm-hmm. Like when I started with the meth, like in a blink of an eye, I lost everything.
Your teeth and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like teeth, place, multiple vehicles, all of my real friends, like everybody that had my best interest at heart, gone. My kids, gone.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And I was surrounded by people who were stuck like I was, who didn't have any desire to do anything other than what we were doing, which at that point was stealing and getting high and fucking each other. You know what I mean? Like, I had no regard for my own safety or health. Like, it's and it wasn't like it just was like I was stuck in it.
Yeah.
Like there was times where I was like, I don't think this is what I want, but most of the time I thought this is exactly what I want. Like I felt like I had freedom. You know what I mean? Like I really believed that. It wasn't until I got clean that I looked back like, what was free about that? Like I was just broke and homeless. You know what I mean? Like there's a lie that at least I was telling myself that like I wasn't held down by the shackles of society.
Yeah.
Like that meant I was homeless. That meant I didn't have a job. You know what I mean? Like it was just sick, man.
Wow. Yeah. It's a big eye opener, man. It's crazy. Yeah, the disease of addiction, and like to me when I think of the disease of addiction, you take any drug, any one thing that puts you in the backseat of your life and drives you down the wrong road at the wrong time, the wrong places, gets you locked up, fucked up, or just you lose complete lack of care of anybody else and complete self-centeredness, you know. And it's more of a like a spiritual thing that we don't know, that I didn't notice. I didn't notice it was a spiritual thing. I was just so used to taking from everybody or not giving a fuck about myself, you know. But yeah, the disease of addiction, man, if I could put it as like a person, it would just be a guy in the back of my head named Chuck that don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? That just drove me down the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong shit, you know?
I really like how you put that, like puts you in the back seat. And like that's it, man. You know what I mean? Like in my active addiction, I was a punk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was not in control of anything. Yeah. Like my drugs decided when I was gonna get up, what I was gonna do, who I was gonna hurt. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, you know, I lost the ability to choose things. Like that's one of the coolest things I noticed. Is like you know, I'm not like rich by any means. Like I'm not like I'm barely getting by, but I'm getting by.
Yeah.
And like it's cool, man, to have, you know, like, well, which bill am I gonna pay first? Like those are choices that I have that like might not seem like a big deal to, you know, someone who doesn't understand this life, but like there wasn't that choice before. There was no like, what am I going to do with this money? There was like, how much dope can I get with this? That's it. Yeah. That's the only choice. Like, do I go now and get a sack, or do I try to scrape up some more money and go get a bigger sack?
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Do I, like, include this person who helped me get this money?
Fuck no.
Or do I ghost them, you know what I mean? Like, sidestep them and just get it all for myself.
Yeah. Take their shit, too.
Right.
That's crazy.
Like,
man.
if I take her with me, we might get a bigger sack, you know what I mean? But then I gotta, you know, finesse her later.
She might rob you with your pants down.
It's sick, bro. It's sick.
Yeah, dude. The fucking disease is a motherfucker, man.
It is.
It is crazy. But I'm actually grateful for it because it got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, dude, I was homeless for 8 fucking years.
That's
like,
a long time.
A long fucking time, but I was comfortable in it. I was so comfortable, bro. Like, I was so fucking out of my mind, dude. It was insane. And I'm blessed to have my mind intact today, somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, somewhat. Yeah. And I'm blessed to have a job and my family in my life. Because at one point, I thought, you know, like, I probably would have robbed my family. Yeah. You know, and I did a couple times, but like, I would have probably like really fucking like cleared them out at one point, you know. But that's a disease, man. It's fucking just insidious and it just wants to take every piece of life that we have and just get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
That's something I learned too, man. Like, I think a big part of me, like, I was always in denial of the idea of like of addiction being a disease, because to me it seemed like a cop out. Like, oh, well, I have this disease, like I can't help it. But what I found is like as soon as I was able to admit that I had a disease, there was something I could do about it immediately. Like it came, like one thing came with the other one. Like, okay, so if this is a disease, then what can I do about it? Like, oh, there's treatment for it. You know, like I feel like if you change it to something else, because that's what a lot of people are gonna say is like, oh, it's not a disease.
That's
like,
what I said, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck do you mean it's a disease? Where did I catch it?
Right.
You know, I was like, how the fuck did I get it? Did I stand in front of a microwave too long or some shit? The fuck?
But that's what I'll compare it to is like something like cancer. Like, yeah, like you can have cancer and you can ignore it or deny that you have it and it's going to kill you. You know, if you accept that you have it, find a treatment for it, you can beat it, and people do. And that's what I found out about this disease of addiction. Is like there is treatment for it. People are beating it. Like right now, there's a lot of people dying because of it. There's a lot of people that have lost everything and will continue to lose more.
Yeah.
But like there's people, like the people I surround myself with today are people that have found a solution and actively chase that solution.
Now I'm looking up the death rate for fentanyl right now.
Ooh, that's gonna be unnerving, bro. That's sick.
The fentanyl category of opiates accounted for 53,480 deaths in 2020, representing a 59% increase over the 33,725 total in 2019.
Man.
And I was shooting that shit in my neck.
Yeah.
For like a couple years straight. That's fucking crazy, man. Yeah, it is crazy. And it is crazy how easy it is to get right now. So we were just looking at the fentanyl fucking death rate, and it's pretty crazy to see those numbers. Have you lost anybody personal, like from fentanyl, or?
Yeah. So it's actually wild. I had a fentanyl habit for a little bit. This is like, it's what made it hard for me to consider a disease, or you know, like I felt like I kicked that on my own. But before that, like I'm from St. Louis, and in St. Louis, like fentanyl was big already in like 2010. My best friend, who was my kid's godfather, was the first person I lost to what seemed like maybe it was heroin. But by then, like, it was already, like, most of the heroin was hit with fentanyl. Like, after that, probably, like, 2 or 3 kids I went to high school with ended up dying. Just recently, like, since I got clean, I lost a couple more friends. I just keep hearing about people, you know, from back home. Just on New Year's Eve, 2 days ago, one of my good friends lost one of his best friends.
Damn.
Yeah, man, like it's taking people out, you know, at an alarming rate, man, and it's scary, man, because like it's out there. Like even if that's not your thing, like that might not be your cup of tea, there's a good chance if you're messing with any hardcore drugs that there's fentanyl in it.
Yeah, bro. Okay, so when I had relapsed, I went to this park to go pick up, and the park, the dude who I was picking up from, he grows weed and he sells weed to the weed shops over here, like right down the street from here.
Yeah.
And he had a Mister bottle full of fentanyl and water, and this is what they did in Florida too. And he would put the fentanyl in there and he would shake it up and he would spray it on the weed. And so I don't know if he was selling that shit to them, but he said that that's how people wanted their shit. And bro, and just like for me to see that, I was like, damn. Like, these motherfuckers have no clue. And I started thinking of my buddy who's got a daughter who's like 14, and he lets her smoke weed and shit.
Yeah.
And I started thinking of her, and I was just like, well, at least I'm not smoking that shit. But it's crazy, man. Yeah, they'll fucking put in anything, bro. Yeah. Also, there's this kid, Joey, bro. He was like 17. He was going to meetings with us in Corona. He went out like one day. He was from like Rancho Cucamonga. They found him in a ditch. Like all fucked up and beat up and robbed, butt naked in a ditch. And a week later, he fucking overdosed on fentanyl because he couldn't bear the shame of telling people about it. But his mom was telling us what happened to him. They're like, he needs help. We need you guys to come get him. and I don't know if he took himself out or what, but he was taking Xanax that had that shit in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was
man.
the thing too. Like, you know, when I was selling meth, you know, like a lot of the meth had fucking fentanyl in it.
Yeah.
And you could tell because, like, you know what you said, like they would call it sleepy dope, you know, where you get
dope.
high, you know, like you take a shot and be, you know, like twacked out, but like you'd also like all of a sudden, you know, 10, 15 minutes later, you're like, it's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
And like I remember having the conversation with a bunch of tweakers, like, why would they do that?
Because it feels good.
Well, yeah, like because we like to get high, but also because like the addictive level of it just skyrockets. You know? Now, like I don't just want dope; I want that dope. You know?
Yeah. Well, that too. Or like you just fucking like me when I was homeless and shit. I would take a big Ziploc bag, and if I had speed and fentanyl, I would put it both in the same bag. And I started thinking of that too. Like even if they just rubbed up on each other, the two types of dopes or whatever, you could probably get fentanyl on it, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so what I know about fentanyl is like the shit that they're selling is it doesn't come in as a powder.
Yeah.
It comes in as a liquid. And what we were doing in Florida is, you know that BC powder stuff that you put on your tongue when you're sick?
Yeah.
They sell it at like gas stations.
Yeah, it comes with a little paper.
Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah.
They would get that, put it in like a cardboard box with wax paper on the bottom of it, and they would, like I said, get it in a mister and spray it, or they would drop it like with a dropper on that shit, put it in the oven or like an air fryer for a little bit, heat it up, dehydrate it, and just use that as the powder or whatever, because it's hard to sell it as like a liquid.
Right.
But that's what I know about it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. Fuck, dude. Yeah, bro. So where do we go next with this shit? Okay, so like, you ever been locked up before, or
Yeah.
you ever did like time or no?
No, not really. No, not really at all. The longest I was ever locked up at one time was a month in a county jail in Utah, actually. Everything for me was like an overnight, or you know, locked up for like a week at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a lot of experience with a bunch of different county jails.
Yeah.
Never been to prison though. Never, never really done that much time. But it's wild how much even just a month feels like while you're in there. It's you quickly get used to like that's the way of life, and like that's how you move, and you get a program going, and you're like, it's a different world, you know.
Bro, it feels like 24 hours days when you're locked up, or like 48-hour days.
Yeah, for sure.
And it feels so fucking, and especially like if you're kicking and shit, it just feels like time to, you're like waiting for med fucking call to come and shit, bro. It just feels like it never fucking ends, bro. Yeah, I don't miss being locked up. Me too, bro. I was locked up in Florida, New York, Texas, California, Orange County, where else was I locked up? Yeah. I think those are all the places, bro. Yeah. And each one is different. Yeah. Each place I've been is different, bro. Like, out here, they like the program. In Florida, it's just like fucking, you're like a renegade out there. You got no help from anybody.
Every man for himself.
Yeah. It's just like everybody's taking everybody's shit, bro. And like Texas is, they like the program in Texas too. New York, you're fucked in New York.
Yeah.
Especially in New York, because if they tell that you don't have like a New York accent, they don't like out of towners and shit, bro. You know, but yeah, bro, like, so kind of where I was going with that was, the times you were locked up, was it all fueled by your addiction?
I would say most of the time. I went to jail a lot, like in fresh out of high school. Usually, honestly, most of it was traffic stuff. But
traffic shit.
In retrospect, In retrospect, though, it was just that mentality, that way of thinking. Like if I got locked up for some weed, like I wasn't going to court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when they let me out, like I never looked at like get out, people would like tell me like, "Oh, make sure you go to court."
Yeah,
and
me
like
too.
to me, like it was like almost laughable because I was like, I'm not doing that.
I'm
like,
outta here.
They're just gonna put me back in jail, like, because I'm not gonna do what they expect me to do. I'm not gonna pay what they want me to pay. Like, it was just that mentality. And what's wild is like I was never a gangster by anyone's definition.
Yeah.
Like I never was. But a lot of the music I listened to, a lot of the people I looked up to, they were gangsters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like a lot of that fuck the police mentality just came with that. And so it was like the whole rebel without a cause, like that was me.
Yeah.
Like I just, and then a lot of it is I was just lazy, you know? Like I wasn't like I didn't know how to stay on top of my shit to take care of stuff. Like it was like living check to check my whole life. That was never going to be a priority for me. Like I was never going to take any of my money and give it willingly to the courts. Like the only time they were getting any money from me was to bail me out of jail.
Bro, it took me like 2 years to pay all my fucking court fines, and I finally paid every single one.
Yeah.
To where like I don't have anything on my credit, but it was just such a motherfucker to pay, because I knew, like, I was like, man, I really don't want to pay this shit.
Yeah.
You know, and like there was even a thing on there where it said like I got charged with a felony, and I know I didn't even get charged with that felony, but it still was on my credit, and I was like, I had to fucking pay it. It was like $200, but still $200 out of my paycheck that I just could have kept for myself. But luckily I paid all that shit, you know. And like all my felonies right now, bro, they're way over 7 years, you know.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, bro. Yeah, like for me, I think every single time I've been arrested, except one time, is all because of drugs.
Yeah.
Or or fighting. Fighting was a big fucking thing for me, dude. I always loved to fight, and even till this day, I still gotta tell myself, like, you can't fight your way through every problem, you know, like, because even if I didn't like how somebody was talking, I would just knock them out and just shut their ass up, bro. But yeah, I found out real quick that doesn't work, you know, because it's like I knock somebody out, go to jail, then I'm back in the same position, have to knock somebody out in there, or I'm getting knocked the fuck out, you know. And yeah, man, it's crazy where our addictions take us, dude. Like, there's a documentary actually of this guy in Orange County. He was an alcoholic, and they followed him with a camera for 30 years or 20 years. And he was like this surfer dude, and it showed the progression of the disease. And like, he went to different places. So the first 10 years, I think he'd been in jail over like 100 times, and they show they're always with him in jail, and he's always drunk, and they show that there's no reasoning with him. And it shows like 10 years later, he's lost like a lot of his like brain function, and he's always got like, I don't know, man, like, he's got like wet brain or some shit, and he can't talk normal. They try and tell him like, why do you keep going to jail? And the cops feel bad. They don't even want to arrest him anymore, and they'll leave him alone, and like an hour later, they'll take him. He'll end up like doing some stupid shit, and they sent the cops, bought him a plane ticket to Hawaii to get him the fuck out of California. Yeah. They were like, where do you want to go? We'll buy you a ticket anywhere you want to go. And he said Hawaii. So like 20 years later, they got a camera, and he's in Hawaii, and he can't even talk. He doesn't even know his name. He doesn't even look the same. And he fucking ended up dying out there, bro. Yeah. And he just never wanted to get help. But it is so fucking crazy. Like, just like what our disease will do to us. There's another documentary that HBO had like a while ago where they followed this homeless guy for a year. This shit is fucking funny, dude. They found his habits. They found out what he did every day. So every day he wakes up. I think this is in Las Vegas. So he wakes up. He goes and dumpster dives at the same dumpster every day. Then he goes to this car wash where there's this like Mexican dude that he's friends with, like some 16-year-old kid he's friends with. The kid helps him out, brings him food or whatever, and then he'll go and get fucked up. He'll go to the bar, he'll take all the money he spent, and he'll go to the bar. One day they take a briefcase, they put $250,000 in the fucking dumpster, And he finds it and he's like, what the fuck is this shit? And he was just like walking down the street with this 250,000. Within 30 days, all the money's gone. The first day he goes to the bar, some lady he meets, he buys her a brand new Dodge Ram truck. Right there. The next day she leaves him. He gets a brand new truck. He gets an apartment. The end of the 30 days, he's out of the apartment. He's got no money, and he's back to square one.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to figure out, like, what is it that will help an addict, you know?
Yeah, that's not it. Money's not it.
No, and it's not it. And, like, they gave him opportunities to get help and shit. And it's just crazy, man. Like, the one thing that I was listening to today in the meeting was Rachel said it. She said gifted desperation. And it just like occurred to me that meant if you put that in whatever it's called, it says God.
Yeah.
You know, gifted desperation.
Yeah.
And when everybody's gift of desperation is different.
Yeah.
You know, and some people don't realize it's a gift of desperation, and some people see it as a way to keep using. You know, and that brings me into my next question. Like, what was your gift of desperation day like?
So yeah, man, I remember. There was a few different, like I can look back and see a few different times where I was like something happened, something spiritual happened to me or for me or around me. But like, given like right now, you know, my clean date being what it is and the time that I have, I'll just go with what happened here in California. It was, like I found myself homeless again. Staying in like an RV in someone's backyard, just getting loaded. And I realized, you know, like, this isn't much different than what I was doing back home. This isn't much different than what I was doing when I ended up like this in Utah. Like, and I realized the farther I get away from home, really the harder it is to kind of manage, you know, like, so like I wake up and, you know, we got a sack, but I don't know where my next meal is going to come from. I don't know how long I'm going to be welcome in this little shelter that I have. Mm-hmm. I don't know when the next sack's going to come or how that's going to come. And it was like, all of a sudden, like, the advice that I had been hearing from the beginning, you know, like, started to kind of make sense. Like, maybe I could go to treatment. Maybe I could, you know. And at the time, like, it wasn't, like, a means to an end entirely. It was, like, for now, you know, I could go somewhere and be, like, have shelter for a month or 2 months. Or, you know, I could take a shower every day. Like, all of these things started to sound so attractive, man. Like, I could have food every day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was like, I did that. Like, I made the call that I had to make to get placed into a treatment facility. But, like, I remember, man, like, they told me when I called, I was like, that was the leap of faith, was making this call. They told me, like, we can probably get you in somewhere in, like, 10 days.
Oh, shit.
And I remember being hopeless at that point. Like, I remember thinking, first of all, I might not make it 10 more days. Second of all, like, the mental place that I'm in right now to want help probably won't be here in 10 days. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, that desperation probably won't be here in 10 days. And I think it was like 5 days later that they called me like, hey, we got a bed for you.
Oh, shit. And
it was like that fast. Within 5 days, I was already kind of like, you know, like my mind had already moved on to other things. Like, well, what am I going to do instead? And I remember, like, I was thinking, like, I don't know if I want to go anymore. And I'm like trying to hit a shot. Mm-hmm. What was wild was, like, I knew that it was coming because, like, you know, me as an IV drug user, I almost never struggled with a shot. Like, oh, shit. Like, I would see people, I would help other people hit, you know, like, I seen people struggle. I would try to help other people hit and wouldn't be able to hit them. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how it goes. Like, sometimes you can't hit. But, like, for me personally, it was never really a problem.
You're lucky.
And this one day, like I couldn't hit the shot. And so like I felt like it was another little spiritual moment where I'm like, something's happening, like something's gonna happen. Like it was like I almost kind of knew I was gonna get that call. But that first day I got the call and they were like, okay, be here by this time. And I asked somebody for a ride and it was like, oh yeah, I got you. And then, you know, turned out they didn't have me.
Oh shit.
So I'm like, oh man. And now quickly my mind goes back to like, maybe it's just not meant to be. Like maybe I shouldn't go, you know. And the people called me back and were like, hey, what's up? Do you want this bed or not? And like there was a complete moment of clarity at that moment. And I was like, I do want that bed. And I know I'm too late today, but I will be there tomorrow. And I was going to get on my bike and ride, you know, from where I was in Riverside, you know, to like Woodcrest. I was going to do it though. Yeah. Like I mapped it out and everything. Like it's going to take me like an hour and a half to ride or whatever. But it was wild for me because it was like, and I've seen this, like I said, I look back and when I decided to make a wise choice, like that choice became easier to make. Like it was like when I decided I was going to treatment, well now somebody did offer a ride, you know what I mean? So I was like, I was on my bike like saying goodbye and this dude was like, no bro, I got you, like get in the car. Oh, and then even then I was a little skeptical because I'm like, is he really gonna take me to treatment or is he gonna take, you know, because that's the thinking. And that's not just the thinking in active addiction, that's the way of life. Like people usually don't have your best interest at heart.
Oh no,
people are trying to see what they can get out of you, or you know, some people are just trying to fuck your life up for their own personal entertainment, you know, like, but this dude, he gave me a ride there and told me on the way that there was something special about me, that I was anointed or blessed. And like, this is somebody I was just getting loaded with, you know what I mean? Like, so it was weird, but it was powerful too, you know, like I dropped off there and I was there and it was like, man, I think I told you, I think this was something we were talking about before we put it on, but like, I sat outside this treatment facility, realized I had a shot in my pocket, and grabbed a trash can or grabbed a can out of the trash and like broke the needle down, stuffed it in there, and like it was like as soon as I did that, it was like this weird like weight off my shoulders, like something is gonna happen here. And I still didn't really entirely like feed into the idea of getting clean or staying clean or, you know, what rehab really was, but it was like from that point on, it was just like a staircase where like, okay, step down one step, okay, it's a little bit easier. I got a little bit less to go, and like, it just kept getting easier and easier.
That's my cat. Yeah. He's got like some little robot toy that fucking rolls around and shit. But okay, so you said it started getting easier and easier. Okay, so when you got into the rehab, like, what happened after that? Like, because I know you said you felt ready. I know that feeling, man. And you had, like, you said you had a whole shot. You just squirted it out and got rid of it.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was. But keep in mind, there was probably 20 times that I did that in my addiction. That I was like, this is it, you know. And the very first time I squirted out a shot was a really powerful moment because it was like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just do this last. But it was like, something kept telling me, like, that's not going to be your last shot, you know? Clearly it wasn't. But, like, I don't know, man. There was something about, because of where I was at, maybe, that, like, it felt like something different. But then I go into detox, you know, and I was just coming off of meth, so it wasn't like I wasn't kicking fucking opiates. That's a whole different beast. But I was still out of my mind, like, completely insane. And every day that went by, like, oh, man, it was just so weird. And I was thinking, probably for at least like 2 weeks while I was in there, I was thinking, like, I don't know when I'm gonna ditch this place, but I'm going to, you know, like, I'm gonna, like, I didn't think I was gonna stay clean. And I remember about the time, like, my big homie Vic was like, he was a peer support there.
Oh, Vic was in there?
Yeah, he was peer support.
Vic is cool people, man.
And man, he shared his story, and it was like, man, like, I remember feeling like like, this dude's really doing it.
Yeah.
Like, he's really clean, and like, you can look at him and tell where he comes from. You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes people are like, oh, you had a better chances, and like, you don't look at him and think that. Like, you know where he came from.
Yeah.
And but he was so passionate about recovery, man.
Yep.
And about, you know, the God of his understanding. And like, he was one that really like had me thinking like, man, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe I can stay clean. Then like with that idea started coming all the possibilities. Like, maybe I can talk to my kids again. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they don't want to see me, but maybe they do. You know what I mean? Maybe they do want to hear from me. Like, maybe I can take care of my responsibilities and like live a life. You know what I mean? Like, all these things that were like, I had just kind of given up. It was like, I'm not someone who's going to own a car. I'm not someone who's going to, you know, who's going to maintain a job, who's going to maintain a relationship, who's going to, you know, handle responsibilities. I'm not someone who's going to pay child support. I'm not someone who's going to pay legal fees. Like, these are just beliefs that I had that like, that's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as like I started to see recovery as a possibility, I started to see a different life as a possibility. And like, it was attractive, bro. You know what I mean? Like, to not be a bum for the rest of my life, to not, you know, like trying to be like finessing people out of whatever I could. Like, I never wanted to be about that, but I decided like you said, getting comfortable being homeless. You know what I mean? It happens quick.
Oh yeah.
Where you go from like, this fucking sucks to like, this is just my life. And I make the best of it.
Yeah.
You know, but like now life's different, man. Like I see possibilities that I didn't see before. I see like, and already I'm living some of them. You know, I do talk to, well, not all of my kids. One of my sons hasn't returned my any attempts at contact yet, but like this program that I'm working now, like it allows me to accept that, and I know that like my God's will be done, and that my God's will is better than mine. So like, even though I want something right now, I might not be ready for it right now. And like, it's a cool place to be in a, you know, just complete peace, man.
Wow. That's powerful stuff, man. That's really cool, dude. That is awesome, man. Well, I'm really glad you got clean, dude, because, yeah, man, you know, like, we could have ended ourselves, dude.
For sure.
You know, just trying to get high one more time.
It happens so much, man. And I hate that. Like, we just lost somebody, you know, like, within the rooms, like, way too young, man. Like, that's like, it's hard to see that, man.
It is. It's crazy, man.
It even that though is almost a message to me that I get to see, like, seeing this person's family still sticking it out and still coming and sharing their strength and experience and hope. Like I see that and I'm like, damn, if you can make it through that, my little problems ain't shit, you know? Like, and then like, maybe I will have problems, you know, that are big like that. But like, seeing people deal with such big stuff right now, like, it's a huge deal for me. Like,
it is.
Because I remember when anything could have took me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a bad relationship, which was all my relationships, because I didn't know how to treat people. You know what I mean? Like, I knew how to manipulate. I knew how to, you know, I knew how to take. But like I have something now, like, I care about people, you know, like, and it's weird to say that, like, that there's a lot of people out there that's probably just like common decency. Like, that's just what, you care about people. But like, the life I was living, I had to get through the denial part because like, I swore I cared about people, but like, my actions did not prove that. They proved the opposite. So like, now to be able to say that honestly, like, it feels good.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, we're actually running out of time today. Yeah, this has been a great, you know, first episode. I'm really grateful we got to do this.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you inviting me to this. Like,
course.
that's bro, like, I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, this is definitely a start to something new, and start to something great, you know, and there's a lot more to come from this. And, so yeah, man, I'm really grateful to have you, man. And, yeah, we'll be back another time.
That's right. Right on, bro.
Yeah.